Welcome to the Otherworlds, where we talk to authors of fantasy, supernatural, and paranormal stories. Let's open the portal and meet our guest. Hello, my name is Sandra Ruttan, and I am joined here today by Kristen Simmons. And she is the author of over 20 novels. She's been nominated for Anthony Awards, Edgar Awards, and Stoker Awards. And in her spare time, she teaches jazzercise. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I love that little tagline. By the way, she also teaches jazzercise.
I think it's sometimes we get so caught up in the writing and the story and everything, which is fantastic. I find it interesting. But
Yeah,
it's when you're talking to an author, sometimes it's interesting to find out about the little things that are part of their life, or maybe not
yeah,
so little, that actually, that step away from the writing world. And
yeah.
so I was curious about what drew you to jazzercise.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So, it's really funny. It feels like this kind of random thing. And sometimes I wonder if it was sort of a random thing that happened. But I was in high school and I got this job at a latchkey program. So, helping kids before and after school. And when I was working in the after school program, um, I was young enough that I wasn't driving yet, and my mom would have to pick me up, but she couldn't pick me up before the latchkey program was out. So there was this like hour of free time that I didn't know what to do, or that I had to do something. So there was jazzercise in this strip mall across the street from this elementary school where I was working. And I would walk over there. And I mean, the first time I did, I kind of looked through the window. I was like, what are they doing? And then all the people inside were like, come in, join us. And they were so friendly and welcoming. And so I took a class and then, I just started making it a habit. And then, years ended up passing and I was still going to these classes and having fun. And yeah, then became an instructor and I've been teaching now for 21 years, if you can believe that. Like just a really long time. And it's just funny how these little things just stick with you for life, but I love it. It's so upbeat. It's such a wonderful community of people that just want to like let go and dance for a while and it feels like a nice compliment to life. Kind of makes life a little more bearable.
Yeah, a happy accident that takes you to
Yes.
something that just helps you take your mind off things and gives you some joy, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that we could all use more of that in our lives. So tell
Yes.
me, what skill from jazzercise would serve you best if you were pulled into the and if I say anything wrong, please just correct me, if you were pulled into the Mado game.
That is so great. I have to say, nobody has asked me anything even close to that, and I love it. Let me see here. First of all, would definitely be teaching jazzercise to all the yokai roaming around trying to, behead and eat people. I think they probably just need a little jazzercise in their lives. They might not be so angry and upset.
Give them another way to blow off some steam.
Another way to blow off some steam. Yeah, I'll go teach some jazzercise in the Japanese underworld. Why not?
Awesome. That's excellent. All right. So if you were there, would you rather fight the giant spiders or the Tengu?
Um, I'm gonna say Tengu. And for those of you listening who have not read the book yet, Tengu are like giant monster birds from Japanese folklore. And then there are also these giant spiders that exist that are spider-like, but just, the size of cars, no big deal. So I think I would definitely go for a Tengu because spiders honestly give me the creeps. I have a real hard time with spiders in general, and the idea of like being touched by a hairy leg that's, scuttling over you. I don't know. The imagery on that really got me when I was writing it. So yeah, I'm gonna say the Tengu because if I can, I can fight it if I can see it coming at me, and I don't know. I can be prepared, more prepared for that than the horror of a nasty spider leg.
No, I hear you. The spiders can go in any direction, right? And
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like they're
And
very,
they sneak
un
up on you and mm-mm,
very
mm-mm.
unpredictable. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, thank you.
I can appreciate that. Although I am terrified of birds. Like
Yeah,
they're pretty
yeah,
from a distance, but like when they fly at your head,
yeah,
nope.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
No.
hear you.
So
I hear you.
so yeah, I had a lot of trauma reading your books.
Yes, both sorry and delighted to hear that.
Yeah, I'm actually not surprised by that reaction.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, sometimes you can sort of tell, oh, the writer is really enjoying
A
this.
good time here. She having a good time. Yeah.
So I have to ask, what would the hardest Mado, I'm not sure I'm saying it right, Mado
NATO. Yeah.
card be for you? What would what would the hardest one be for you and why?
The hardest one for me. Um, okay, so there's a part where they go into the woods, excuse me, and they see their younger selves.
Mhm.
And as they play the game, they begin aging. Um, and I think that would be the hardest thing for me, not because I'm particularly afraid of aging or anything, but I had, when I was young, I remember watching this episode of the X-Files where somebody got this, somebody was exposed to whatever virus or whatever, and it made them age at an accelerated rate. And I remember thinking that that was the scariest thing I'd ever seen. I had nightmares about it for months. It's just this inability to stop yourself from aging quickly, and losing control and losing control of your mind, losing control of your body, and seeing yourself just kind of fall apart in seconds. Um, that haunted me for a long time. So I think that I would have the hardest time with that part of the game. It's not the grossest monsters in the book, it's not the scariest things coming after you, but just that ability to focus on the game and the challenge itself while watching yourself um, fall apart in seconds. That was an image that has haunted me forever that just kind of worked itself into this book. Kind of unexpectedly, actually.
Well, it's a powerful image. I mean, if you think about it, we anticipate doing certain things by certain ages, and we have goals for our lives, and
Yeah.
also you start rapidly aging, and everything's off the table.
You don't get it. Yeah, you don't get any of that anymore. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not particularly afraid of aging. I should say, at a normal rate, um, or even, sickness or any of those kinds of things. But the idea of doing it in seconds is just so haunting to me. Um, just looking at yourself and realizing, oh my gosh, my skin is different, my body is different, my heart is failing, my mind is failing. I can't remember. Like what just happened to me. That that really gets me. Yeah, and again, I don't think I anticipated writing that part into the book, but this was really an exercise for me of finding the things that I thought would scare me the most and putting them in. And at the end of the day, it wasn't just monsters and hairy-legged spiders. It was, the psychological impact of losing yourself in a moment.
No, I appreciated that reading the book, and as well, you have these dynamics between the characters because you have broken friendships, and then you have things that
Yeah.
they see that they don't know whether to believe it or not. Did Dax
Mhm.
really do this, or is what he's saying true? And you're trying to parse all those things out, and in a situation where you're already terrified because you've been taken out of your comfort zone, out of your world, and you're facing all of these things that are horrific, and then on top of it, you don't even know if you can rely on the people who you're supposed to be playing the game with. And
Yeah.
and then these things start happening to you physically, and you can't even rely on your own body in the same way.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
that,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So to me, it's like the horror on every level because you've taken it from the cellular level to
Yes.
those interpersonal relationships and then to the world beyond and
Yes.
like that's around them. And so they're fighting on every front. There's no safe place for any
Yes.
characters.
Exactly. You get it. Exactly. That's 100% it is, well, at least I have my memories. Nope, you don't. At least I have my version of the truth. Nope, that's wrong too. No, you don't have anything in this game. You are stripped down to the bones. That's it.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it's quite terrifying. So, yeah, I wondered when you were writing it, did you ever stop to think about how their parents were feeling while they were missing?
Yes, I actually did because as a parent, I do think about that a lot, and especially because the section that takes place beforehand, when they're young and they go into the cave for the first time. It's these five kids that are just messing around. They go into this cave. They start this game that they have no business starting, but why not? They're fun and they're breaking the rules and. Um, they have a leader of the group that's pushing everybody to stay out 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, nobody will know, that kind of thing. That is based so much on my son and his group of friends, and just watching them when they were young, just kind of pushing each other, not to like really get in trouble, but to to push the limit a little bit more every time. And that horror of a parent in seeing them push those lines and knowing that it's innocent, but knowing that it very quickly could get out of control if they're not really paying attention, right? Like, we're playing ball in the street. It's not a big deal until you step out in traffic, right? Like those kinds of things as a parent you think about all the time. Um, just I don't know. So that was that group of friends when they go into the cave is definitely based on watching my son and his friends, and I did think a lot about like when these kids come back and one's missing, holy cow, as a parent, like you're gonna be like all over those other kids trying to figure out what happened, right? But that's when the lying begins, that's when the story begins, that's when the cover up begins. And that's eventually how that group of friends just completely fractures and falls apart because they can't hold up that lie of what happened to Ian in that cave and still look each other in the face
Yeah, there's
and
that.
look them in the face.
Yeah, and well, there's that aspect of it, and then there's also sometimes when you've been through a trauma, you actually like can't be around the people who you experienced it with because that
Mm,
makes the memories resurface. So like
right.
it's like this two layers of things happening there. One is the guilt and the other is being
Absolutely.
forced to confront that trauma. And it's
Yes.
just easier when everything in your world changes than
Yeah.
to be with a fractured group that's
Yeah.
missing somebody.
Yeah. To constantly have to remember.
Yeah, and so I found it interesting to see them coming coming at it from after that in the first book, and then have forcing them together, and then
Yeah.
seeing the difference after the first book and into the second book in terms of how they handled it and how
Yeah.
they grew. I love that without wanting to, I don't want to give the game away or anything, but like I did
Yeah.
really love that aspect of it because it felt very realistic, but also like, there was this really good growth journey that was happening for all
Yeah.
of them. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the world may be fantastical, but the emotions are real, right? So everything that you're feeling in response to the things you're seeing are very valid and terrifying and, you know, symptomatic of post-traumatic stress disorder, basically, and, struggling with living through a trauma and the aftermath of it.
now I was actually wondering if you did research on that because I was thinking about how realistic it was at the
Mhm.
beginning of book two that Ian didn't know what drink to order. Like he here he is
Yeah.
after everything that he's been through. And I was just thinking that that was such a like a wonderful detail
Mm.
because you would be confused. I mean, these are like significant formative years of his life, and
Yeah.
30 days back in the real world is not
Yeah.
a lot of time, and you're trying to,
Yeah.
and how do you anchor yourself? And at the same time, teens, oh, even adults, a lot of people have that inability to just say, like, I don't know what I like. I don't know
Yeah.
what to order. Can you help me? We're so ingrained to not ask for help. And he's got his parents hovering over him, like
Yeah.
he's got everybody sheltering him, and he probably just wants this little piece of autonomy, but he doesn't know how to navigate the world or to
Yeah.
really ask for help. And so I was wondering if you researched PTSD or how you approached that aspect of writing his character in the second book.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, prior to this life as a full-time writer, I was a mental health therapist, and I worked in a post-traumatic stress disorder unit with veterans who were um, the Vietnam veterans and returning veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. So um, I spent a lot of time around PTSD, a lot of time talking about PTSD, and a lot of time just really seeing those symptoms play out in real life. And yeah, so I learned a lot about it. I think being around people who are living with PTSD is such a moving, powerful experience in that when you are doing that kind of work, you often see people at their very lowest, right? At the very bottom. And what as a therapist, you have both the joy and the struggle of seeing is watching them kind of climb out of that, um, or stay in it, or just wherever that journey leads them. It's never a straight line, but watching people work through trauma and fight to regain that sense of autonomy, regain that sense of confidence that they have lost as a result of trauma. It is basically the most powerful thing I think anybody can watch. And so I have so much respect for post-traumatic stress disorder, for people that have survived things that are traumatic. And it seems to kind of work its way into my books a lot, honestly. I think the survivor message is one that I write again and again, just because I was so profoundly affected by it. I love that narrative of the survivor that hits the bottom and is trying to struggle their way back. And that happened, 5 times over in Find Him Where You Left Him Dead and She Waits for You Beyond the Dark, because I've got five different characters that are living through a shared trauma and have responded in very different ways to it. But yes, I love that you pointed that out in the coffee shop, because yes, for two reasons. One, Ian has missed out on the point of his life where his friends have started going to coffee shops and ordering drinks, so he doesn't know what to get. He doesn't know. Everybody is so confident in the world around him, and he's like, I don't even know if I like iced tea. Like I don't know. I don't know if I like coffee. I don't know these things. And it's shameful and embarrassing in one hand, because like I should, because he does. And he's the same age as me. Why don't I know these things? And so that's a conflict that I think he struggles with a lot. But also just this idea of like decision paralysis is a huge part of overcoming not overcoming, but working through trauma, right? Is you get to this point where you stop trusting yourself, you stop trusting the world around you, you stop trusting your response to the different situations that come up. And it works its way down to even specific things like ordering your Starbucks drink, right? Like, I don't know if I want a chai tea with almond milk or with cow's milk. I don't know. Like, don't ask me so many questions. Give me an A or B. I can't figure out all this gray area in between. And so, yeah, that is a lot of Ian's journey, is figuring out just like how to make a decision, how to trust himself again when he has been in a situation where he absolutely cannot trust himself for so, so long.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And also I feel like there's just been points in my life where I felt overwhelmed. Like I'm not a coffee drinker. So
Mhm.
the first time that I stepped into a Starbucks with a friend of mine, I was just like just overwhelmed.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
and I mean,
For
I
sure.
don't even have the trauma behind it. It's just,
Right. And they're like, go, 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 make your decision. Let's go. Next in line, blah, blah, blah. And it's intense. It's a lot.
Yeah, and yeah, it's being thrown into a whole different world. So yeah, I loved that approach with him. So now you have written about your great grandmother, and she was in
Mhm.
Pearl Harbor when Pearl Harbor was attacked, and then although she was born in Hawaii, she was sent to Japan, and and then you've talked about being mixed race. And when I was reading the books, I at first thought that Owen was I was wondering, like, was he a stand-in to sort of represent that aspect of yourself and give you an opportunity to write about it? But then I read this. He didn't want to hear anything this man said, to be in the same space with him at all. But at the same time, he wanted Akamanto to explain everything, what it meant to be Yuri, what he was supposed to do here now for the rest of his life, if he was a card maker too. He was torn. If it was as if his insides were swelling, too big for his body, like he was on the brink of exploding, like if he did, everyone would see what was underneath. Not Yuri, not human, not enough, a fraud in every world. I was wondering how personal that was for you to write, and did that was that inspired by some of your experiences?
Absolutely. Wow, I love that you found that passage. Yeah, I love that you found that one. That is something that I have felt all my life in different ways. So yes, my great grandmother was in she was actually in Wahiwa, which is a town that is where the air base is. In Oahu that is very near Pearl Harbor. So it was attacked because the airfield was attacked and it's right by Pearl Harbor. And she was taken and put in an detention center and then moved to an internment camp, separated from her children. Her children tried for years to get her back or to even find where she was. It took a long time to reconnect those things. Um, and as a result of all of the things that happened during World War II with my family, there was this severance that happened that I think is so, I mean, looking at it academically, I think is so interesting. Looking at it personally, it feels so painful. And kind of what happened, or actually what happened is, so the next generation decided even though they were Japanese, we will not let our children speak Japanese. We will sever many of the customs that happened, or customs that we grew up with. And so we will not let them feel the shame of this war. And it was a survival mechanism in a big way because, my parents, or my mom and her brother grew up in America, in Hawaii. And so um, they were very normal American kids at that time, but with kind of a history that was just kind of cut off. And so as that trails down to my generation, I grew up in this place of where I'm trying to learn about what's happened and who I am, but also trying to embrace this American lifestyle. Um, and it is this constant weaving together of who am I, or at least it was when I was younger, who am I? Oh, how do I exist in this world? Where do I fit in this world? If I cannot be a part of this Japanese culture, but I clearly do not fit in this American culture, like how do I align that in my mind and my body, right? Like how do I be both of those things at the same time? Um, and it took a lot of years to get okay with that, and to, embrace this history that my family had completely cut off, and also embrace this world that didn't quite accept me, and, to try to make sense of that. And that is so much, I think, the story of a lot of people who are mixed race, and people who have had families that have gone through wild times, like World War II, and also yeah, I think that it fell into my character so much, right? So Dax is he's struggling with being human and ghost. Like, it's the same thing. Like, am I part of this legion of terrible monsters that is wrecking the world? Am I just a human that is like trying to survive these? How do I fit both things in my body at the same time? And can I create something new out of it that both gels with me as a person, but also just feels like I can have a space in this life, right? Um, so anyway, yes. The short answer to your question is yes, absolutely. It was incredibly painful, but also sort of felt like important for me as a person to write out and to finally come to terms with this history and this person of who I am now, and to put that into a character who really just feels it,
Yeah,
feels the pressure of it.
I mean, I imagine that a lot of people relate to that because we do have a world where more and more increasingly people are mixed race and struggle to, really hold on to their heritage or to figure out how their cultural background fits with their current reality. And
Correct.
yeah, so I mean, it's not something that I have personally faced because I am not, but I do find it really interesting to look into that and to see how it affects other people. And I think that, in tackling issues like colonialism in the current age, like we have a lot to answer for in terms of forcing people to give up their language. And in a way, you weren't forced to, and yet at the same time, did your family really have a choice?
Right.
And
Yeah.
not really, because they're looking at the potential consequences of continuing to speak your language and to celebrate, your customs. So how did you
Right.
reconnect? Have you been to Japan? Did you decide to take language lessons?
I actually just got back from Japan.
Hey,
It's so funny that you ask. Just actually, I've been back uh 2.5 weeks now. I mean, just long enough for the jet lag to finally like clear up. Um, because where I am, it's almost completely night and day difference. So it's a 13-hour difference. But yeah, I just spent time in Japan. A lot of it was studying what had happened, and my grandparents have done interviews, and reading those, and just the process of growing up and realizing that your family members, the side they presented to you as a grandparent, was not necessarily the side that the rest of the world saw. And specifically for like my great grandmother, like I have so many wonderful memories of her doing things with me, I mean, snuggling with my teddy bears, laughing, telling jokes. And then I read interviews with her where she's talking about being detained or being taken to internment camps, and, you know, being unable to bathe in private, having to steal coffee grounds to trade them for necessary items, um, having to take loyalty questionnaires to the US government. Like, those kinds of things were just so intense. And yeah, so a lot of it was just researching like who we were, and then it was a matter of like asking questions of my family members to see what people actually knew and were not talking about. And that was very honestly painful for a lot of people. And I couldn't get answers on a lot of things from people because it had been a door that was shut for so long. And I respect that absolutely. Um, so yeah, just kind of fitting different pieces of a puzzle together to figure out what the story is of my history and who I am as a product of it.
well, it's wonderful that you had the opportunity to go. And I mean, I can imagine it's hard to have that fractured history. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, for example, like on my rattan line, um, my rattan ancestor came to North America in 1675. So it's been so long and there's been so much, you
Oh
know,
my gosh, that's great.
the but it's it's really hard to say, like, when people say, like, "Oh, well, what's your cultural heritage?" Um, well, pretty much
Here.
everything, you know, European, like, I
Yeah.
don't know, because it really is so, there's just, so many threads. And, and
Yeah.
then on the flip side, on my mom's side, we have almost no information.
Yeah.
It's really weird, like, but, so like I find it interesting to delve into your ancestry because I do think that it answers some questions about, your background and your interests. And it's funny how you find things that you connect with, that
Yeah.
you weren't necessarily raised with, but it speaks to you in a different
Sure.
way, like I think
Sure.
it's true for people, like, there's generational trauma, but I think there's also like this generational significance that kind of comes through for people, that something resonates with them.
Sure.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that one of the ways that I'm trying to um I guess deal with that in coming generations is one thing my son and I have done every day, not every day, every week since he was like, I don't know, first grade, kindergarten maybe. And it's been, I don't know, 7 years, something like that, is every Tuesday we have this standing date where we get together and we learn something about the culture, right? And a lot of that has been learning for me. And then a lot of it is me teaching him what I know. So we're going over folklore, we're going over um, what yokai are, which is how this book even came to be. Is I was reading him yokai encyclopedias, and we were talking about different kinds of yokai, and I thought, oh, his interest in this just makes me want to write a book about it. So I did. But yeah, you know, having food, trying different foods, learning all these things, so he can have that sense of culture and community moving forward, and kind of know more firmly where we come from. Um, so yeah, we've done that every Tuesday, and it was very cool being able to take him to Japan recently and go through all these places and walk under a torii and you know talk about kami and different spirits that exist and um yeah, just to have these I don't know, just these very cool, authentic experiences that we had just been talking about for years. For him, just kind of theoretically for years, but now we can actually see it.
that's great. Like a whole trip of Tuesdays, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yep.
That's wonderful. So I have to ask then, is it because of your son or is it because of you? How'd you get the great gamer language? Are you a gamer or is it because of
Ah, that took a lot of research in my
me?
part. Yeah, so I am not a gamer naturally. I have watched gaming happen, but I have many friends who are gamers and yes, my son and my husband and then just friends who are very active in like D&D groups and things like that, and have been for a long time. So they helped me a lot with language to make sure I was getting the words right and the concepts right and the little tricks that get pushed in.
Well, I thought it was really well done. I mean, I'm not a huge gamer, but my niece and her husband are gamers. They stream. They're,
Yeah.
so I've picked up a lot of lingo from them.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
you know, yeah, my nibbling streams as well. Like sometimes it's been a while, but sometimes I'll randomly pop in when they're
Yeah.
on live, and so I've picked up the lingo from them. So I
Yeah.
recognize the lingo reading through. So I thought it was a lot of fun. So now I have to ask. You did an interview on the Nerd Daily, and you said Kuchisaki was one of your favorite characters to write.
Yeah.
Wondering, is there any chance of a novel that centers on him that we
Oh
can?
my gosh, I would love to. I have often wondered if he needs his whole novel just to himself to make us understand just how he came to be the delightful psychopath that he is. Um, he was by far my favorite to write. I mean, this is a yokai that like truly delights in torturing and killing people, but also just like really wants a best friend. Like really genuinely loves people too. But yeah, like also like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I cut you up with my fingernails? That'd be fun, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, you've nailed it because it's like, yeah, he really wants like this sense of belonging, but at the same time,
Yes.
he just has no sense of what's inappropriate.
Yes. Yes. He was so delightful to write. And yes, I would love one day to write a whole story of how he became who he is. And yeah, yeah, my lovable little psychopath.
Yeah, no, he's great fun. He's
I'm so glad you think so.
I definitely think that there's potential for more there if you ever decide that you want to revisit the world and his
Oh,
history.
good.
Be a lot of fun, actually. So, but that's just my opinion, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap things up, a little bit of fun, or maybe not
Okay.
fun. So,
Oh, oh boy.
so a nicer version of this, we'll call it Kiss, Marry, Exile. And here's your
Okay.
three that you're choosing from:
Okay.
Akamanto,
Hmm.
Gashadokuro,
Mm.
Uchisaki.
Um. I think Akamanto I would marry because I do believe that deep down there's like his moral compass is in the right place. I think that that would last. As gross as this would be, I would kiss Kuchisaki, and I say it's gross. Like he's the ultimate bad boy, right? Like he is a psychopath. He might kill you, but he also has like a smile that's cut from ear to ear. So I'm not sure the kiss would be like the best kiss. But I mean, everybody needs a fling with a bad guy, right? And then like the great giant, I would exile him. I think he's more trouble than he's worth. We need to get him out of the picture. We need to get him out.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough with him. And on your website, you mentioned some of your loves, and you say that you love epic disaster movies. Which one is your favorite?
Oh my gosh. I the worse the worse the better. Like I really loved, do you remember that movie 2012, I guess? Is that the one with Jake Gyllenhaal and I love anything like Dante, is it Dante's Peak, like where there's like a giant um volcano that explodes and destroys the world, like anything like that, I am here for it. I think those are so fun. Yeah, but I think also like the 90s was like the epic era of mass destruction movies that I just really loved. Really, really loved. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I was thinking it's been a little while since I've seen a really good like just destroy the whole world type of movie. And
Yeah.
maybe the most recent Godzilla one, maybe. I'm just
Oh
trying.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one. And then the almost destroy the world ones too, like Armageddon. Loved that.
Yeah, the talk about taking everything to the brink of destruction and then
Yeah,
having somebody save the day. All
I
right.
love it.
You also say that you love April Fool's Day pranks. What's the best April Fool's Day prank that you've either experienced, like been on the receiving end of, or that you've done?
Um, well, I let's see. I have had some that I really have enjoyed doing. Kind of the old standby in my house is just putting like plastic cockroaches in my family's food. I enjoyed that very much. But probably the best that I've found, um, oh gosh, there's so many good ones. Toothpaste in Oreos when you take out the filling and put toothpaste in it and then close them again and put them back in the package. That's a delight. That's a true delight to watch someone drink that or eat that. But I saw once you can put chicken bouillon cubes. If you unscrew your shower head, you can put them in and then screw your shower head on. So when people turn on the shower, it's literally like raining down chicken soup on them. That was the winner. I enjoyed that very much.
So in other words, always bring a food tester when we come for dinner, right? Especially if it's April 1st.
I enjoy a good prank very much.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, though. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much for
You're
joining me
so
today.
welcome. Thank you for having me. This was a delightful conversation, and thank you for asking such thoughtful questions.
Oh, well, I love chatting with you. This was, this is super easy. You made it so easy. So
Oh, thank you.
great fun.